On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, Circle tragically removes Bitcoin trading from its app. Dash is the privacy-focused digital currency that offers transactions with instant confirmations. Its unique, decentralized decision-making and self-funding system make it an ideal choice as a stable and secure digital cash. Click the link in the video description to learn more. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. So let's get into today's news. Before we begin today, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Segregated witness is continuing to be adopted. I'm looking here at CoinDance, coin.dance/blocks, and it's showing now a 32.6% of mining pools supporting SegWit. So SegWit, for those of you that don't know, is short for segregated witness. It's basically a new technology that's going to be integrated into Bitcoin to sort of widen the highway, as it were, to allow more traffic to flow down it. That should keep transaction fees under control and prevent transactions taking a long time to confirm during very busy periods on the Bitcoin network. So there's a little graph on here as well that shows gradually the adoption increasing over time. So that's something to keep an eye on. In terms of the news then, I've turned to the Cointelegraph today, cointelegraph.com. This is a Joseph Young article from yesterday. It says here it was published 21 hours ago at the time of recording. Now, many of you listening probably may have never used Circle before because they were only operating in a few countries and they'd only just begun to expand steadily across Europe and a few other countries. Now, I put the word tragically in the title of this episode because Circle was, and that's was with a capital W, it was one of my favorite Bitcoin tools. In fact, it becomes somewhat of a core part of some of my business processes, which I'm now going to have to redesign. And that's quite an expensive process or an exercise because it means the investment of a lot of time and resources to redesign those business processes and any others that it interacts with. Like, for example, imagine if your phone died. Imagine those days between the phone dying and then you getting a new one and then getting that phone set up the way and configured the way you like it. That's kind of what it's like. It's going to disrupt the way I do business, but hey, Circle can do what they want. This is the free market, and like I said yesterday, I'm responsible for my own business, and thus I had a fallback plan if this ever did happen, which I've now implemented. So back to the article then. The article is formally entitled Circle Terminates Bitcoin Trading, Focuses on Next Generation Platform. Now, I'm not going to talk about the next generation platform called Spark, but you can check out Circle's blog post if you want to know about that. But the article says that Circle, one of the largest venture capital-backed Bitcoin startups in Europe, officially terminated its Bitcoin trading services and has launched a Bitcoin blockchain-based remittance and messaging application to serve the unbanked. Okay, hold it. The first thing that jumps out to me there is that while this appears to be a sudden move from my point of view, it's unlikely to be a sudden decision on their part. And the fact that they are significantly backed by venture capitalists, they must have had the support of their investors in order to make this move. And this makes me think more on the side of the greedy investor, because you'll find out later that this move has actually caused somewhat of a centralization, which is obviously bad for the community. What we really need is a more decentralized exchange network, and this move is actually going to create more centralization. The reason I'm pointing that out is because if they were more altruistic investors, then they would see the consequences, the negative consequences of this move. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, in a customer support briefing, the Circle team stated, quote, "Now we're making payments more social than ever and driving headfirst into the next generation blockchain technology rather than the buying and selling of Bitcoin itself," close quote. So basically, Circle don't want to be in the exchange business anymore. They're going to leave that to the actual exchanges. I don't blame them really, because being in an exchange is a whole can of worms in itself. Plus, like I always say, companies who try to do too many things end up being good at none of them. But you should probably know and be aware that Circle are now appointing Coinbase as their preferred Bitcoin exchange partner. So that's what I meant when I said it's creating more centralization of exchanges rather than decentralization. It's sort of like making Coinbase the central bank almost of Bitcoin. Now, as soon as I heard this announcement yesterday, I logged into my Circle account and they've removed Bitcoin as a currency that you can send. And they've even removed the ability for you to generate a Bitcoin address to receive money. So it's completely gone. So now new users of Circle will probably never know about Bitcoin because this has all now been pushed behind the scenes. And you know, I get the feeling that Circle found presenting Bitcoin to users too much of a headache. And I have no actual evidence or basis for this, other than my own sort of business experience. I can imagine them getting lots of customer service messages from people asking questions about how Bitcoin works and what it is and all this kind of stuff. And I bet they eventually just realized, hey, we're not in the Bitcoin education business either. So we're not an exchange, we're not an education company, we're a social payments app. So they're now just going to focus on what Circle was founded on, which is being a social payments app, and then outsourcing everything else or letting other people do those other specialist things like education or exchange. So with the social payments app and then focusing on remittances, I'll be able to pay you in British pounds, you'll receive US dollars instantly, and then Circle will make all of that happen by sending the money across the Bitcoin network in the background. Now I'll end today on the same note that I ended on yesterday. The most important thing to remember about using Circle is that they are just another centralized bank. And even though Circle is insured, they still introduce a counterparty risk. If you don't hold the keys, it's not your money. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From as little as $10 a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, and access a private patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. That's all for today, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.